Welcome to the Recommended Daily Value Podcast, your daily dose into the health and wellness world.
Welcome back to the Recommended Daily Value Podcast, where we dive into everything health, fitness, and nutrition related in 5 days a week in 5 minutes or less. This podcast is brought to you by Umzu, and I'm your host, Tyler Woodward. Today, we're reviewing a new meta-analysis that came out testing the effects of resistance training on depression. The meta-analysis looked at 2 studies with a total of 67 people during COVID, and one of which was in-person resistance training. The second was completely online. Then they did a follow-up study with 42 of the original 67 participants doing completely remote training that was further into the pandemic. And FYI, they didn't cut anyone from the original study. Rather, a number of individuals just dropped out, which is really normal during scientific studies. The study was designed to look at the effects of resistance training on both fitness and mental health. So in the study, they measured both physical parameters for fitness and mental health, including a push-up test, among a number of other strength and mobility tests like the sit and reach, and a couple weird ones, which I don't really think are going into. They also measured the cross-sectional area of the thighs, which is like how much muscle growth and fat mass is in the thighs, and then isometric and isokinetic strength, which is basically a measure of force production. For fitness, they also measured the cross-sectional area of the thighs, which is like your amount of muscle mass and fat mass that you have, and then isometric and isokinetic strength, which allows you to measure force production. Then they tested for mental health via a number of what I'd assume are commonly used mental health assessments, including the Center for Epidemiological Studies Depression Scale, along with the Kessler Psychological Distress Scale, and the Wellbeing Index. In the study, the groups performed 9 exercises: the leg raise, squat, rear raise, shoulder press, rowing, dips, lunge, single leg Romanian deadlift, and push-up. They performed these low-load resistance training movements twice per week for 16 weeks, and each session took around 60 minutes. The participants performed 2 to 3 sets of each exercise with 10 to 15 reps. In the first study, they were supervised either in person via some graduate students or via Zoom, with a ratio of 1.5 to 1 participants to graduate student/supervisor. Then for the second study, this all moved to Zoom. Also in the study, for the exercise that you can't do with your body weight, like in a shoulder press or rear raise, they use a tube. I have no idea what sort of tube they're talking about, nor do they include a picture or even a relative weight, but I'd assume it's like a PVC pipe or something you could grab at home. As expected, pretty much all the physical fitness parameters increased throughout the study, which obviously shouldn't come as a huge surprise as working out increases fitness. We know this. What was cool about the study was the mental health benefits they found that resistance training had. One of the assessments they used, the quote-unquote the Center for Epidemiological Studies Depression Scale, or CSD, saw a significant improvement in mental health parameters across all participants. But the in-person participants of the first study did see a larger improvement in mental health. The authors attributed this to exercise-induced increases in factors like BDNF, or brain-derived neurotrophic factor, or insulin-like growth factor, or IGF-1. Both of these factors are important growth factors, with BDNF in particular being involved in neuroplasticity and the maintenance of neuroplasticity as we age. There's also some correlational evidence that both of these hormones are downregulated in depression, as the authors discussed. I would like to say that I don't think this study is really anything revolutionary. I don't think anyone that exercises needs a study to tell them that movement is medicine or the benefits of exercise. Additionally, especially for mental health. Additionally, other research has found similar results with resistance training and other forms of exercise, showing improvements in depressive symptoms. If you're struggling with mental health, I'd advocate for you to try getting outside and finding some movement practice that you enjoy, whatever that may be. The unique part about the study was that the exercise routine could be performed completely remote. You really don't need any equipment other than a chair or other things you can find at home, and a tube or some sort of weighted object that could be lifted. On to the issues. First, only one of the 3 mental health parameter tests showed signs of improvement. While the other 2 didn't worsen, they didn't show any significant effect or benefit. The authors commented on this saying that it needed more research, but I think it's funny how everyone posting the study on social media right now seems to have conveniently left it out. Second, there was no control group, which I guess isn't a huge deal in this study in particular, because in some sense, the participants themselves are somewhat of control. Like they weren't exercising before it started, and they had this intervention. But it would have been really nice to see what happened to a second group that never exercised to compare them to that trial group. Well, that's it for this episode. So remember to keep exercising for all of its physical benefits in addition to its mental benefits. And if you enjoyed this episode, make sure to hit that subscribe button and to share with a friend. Remember that these opinions are my own, based on my own research and experiences, and is not medical advice. Until next time, be good.